In this era, marked by the clashing of swords and the clamor for liberty, ordinary citizens dared to challenge the old order. They rose against entrenched monarchies and decaying feudal systems, united by a common cry for freedom, justice, and national self-determination. This tumultuous period, known as the Springtime of Nations, witnessed an unprecedented wave of uprisings, each distinct yet connected by the shared dream of reshaping society. It was a time when a fabric of European society was torn asunder, only to be woven anew by the hands of those who dared to dream of a different world. Join us as we delve into the heart of this revolutionary fervor. We'll explore the key battles that thundered across the continent, the iconic figures who emerged from the shadows to lead the charge, and the enduring historical significance of this critical moment that forever altered the political landscape of Europe. As the 19th century unfolded, Europe was on the cusp of monumental change. The wheels of industrialization turned ever faster, transforming landscapes and lives. But progress came at a cost, weaving stark inequalities into the fabric of society. In the shadow of burgeoning factories, a new class was forged, the proletariat. Their toil fueled the engines of progress, yet they lived in squalor, their futures uncertain in the rapidly changing world. Amidst these smokestacks and the clamor of industry, the spirit of nationalism stirred. Peoples across the continent, bound by language, culture, and shared history, began to envision nations united under their own flags and free from the yoke of empires. In the hallowed halls of academia and the buzzing cafes of Europe capitals, liberal ideals took root. Visionaries like Johann Gottfried Herder and the young Karl Marx debated fervently, advocating for political participation, democratic reforms, and the end of absolute monarchy. These diverse strains of discontent, social, national, and intellectual, merged into a potent force. And like dry kindling awaiting a spark, Europe's people were poised on the brink of ignition, their collective yearning for change a harbinger of the upheaval to come. As the old order struggled to maintain its grip, the winds of change whispered of a coming storm. The year 1848 would soon dawn, bringing with it a fire that would sweep across the continent, and the seeds of dissent had been sown. The dreams of a better world were about to bloom into a full-blown revolution. February 1848, Paris. The City of Light becomes the beacon of the revolution. What began as a campaign for electoral reform quickly escalates. The streets of Paris, alive with the buzz of change, become the stage for a pivotal act in the drama that year. The demand for reform ignites the flame of revolution. Barricades arise overnight, symbols of defiance against a regime out of touch with the people's will. The air is thick with gunpowder and the cries for liberty, equality, and fraternity. Caught in the whirlwind, King Louis Philippe faces an impossible choice. The throne that once symbolized unassailable power now teeters on the edge of oblivion. In a dramatic denouement, the citizen king abdicates the throne, a seismic shift that sends ripples across the continent. From the ashes of monarchy arises the Second Republic, and the streets of Paris, once battlegrounds, now echo with jubilant cries. The Republic promises a new dawn, not just for France, but for all of Europe. The message is clear. Change is not only possible, it is inevitable. This spark from Paris lights the way for the continent. As word of the revolution spreads, it ignites the collective imagination of the oppressed and the downtrodden. From the grand capitals to the smallest hamlets, the spirit of revolution takes flight, heralding a year of upheaval, transformation, and hope. The revolutions of 1848, a mosaic of uprisings bound by a shared dream, began here on the cobbled streets of Paris. The city, forever marked by the events of February, stands as a testament to the power of the people's will, a beacon that lit the way for an entire continent yearning for change. The revolutionary tide of 1848 surged beyond the grand capitals, touching even the more distant corners of Europe. In Denmark, Hungary, and Ireland, the spirit of change inspired movements that, while distinct in their aspirations, echoed the broader yearning for freedom and self-determination. In the north, Denmark witnessed a remarkable transition. Led by figures like Niels Weimer, the Danish people embraced change not through violent upheaval, but through peaceful discourse, culminating in the adoption of a liberal constitution. This pivotal moment paved the way for a constitutional monarchy, setting a precedent for a peaceful reform. The call for independence rang loudly in Hungary, where Lajos Kossuth became the voice of a nation's struggle against Austrian domination. The declaration of Hungarian independence and the ensuing War of Liberation captured the imagination of revolutionaries everywhere, symbolizing the fierce determination to govern one's own destiny. Across the sea in Ireland, the flame of revolution sparked the Young Ireland movement, Led by visionaries like William Smith O'Brien, the Irish sought to cast off the shackles of British rule. Though their 1848 uprising did not achieve its immediate goals, it certainly bolstered Ireland's enduring fight for sovereignty. The revolutions of 1848 transcended geographical boundaries, influencing not just the political landscape of Europe, but echoing across the world from the Americas to the shores of Japan. The ideals of liberty, equality, and self-governance found resonance, inspiring movements and shaping the course of nations far beyond the continent. In this tumultuous year, the world witnessed the power of collective action and the indomitable will of the people. The revolutions of 1848, though varied in their outcomes, shared a common vision, a vision of a world where the chains of oppression are broken and the light of freedom shines for all. As the dust settled on the barricades of Europe, the landscape of 1848 had forever changed. Yet the bright flame of revolution that once promised to redraw the contours of society began to flicker and fade in the face of daunting challenges. The unity that once bound the revolutionaries in their common cause began to fray at the edges. Disparate groups from liberal reformers to radical Republicans found themselves at odds over the direction of their newly forged path. The internal division sapped the strength of the movements, leaving them vulnerable to the counterstrokes of the old order. Meanwhile, the old order, though shaken, was far from shattered. Monarchs and their allies, witnessing the tide of change, regrouped with resolve. Armed with powerful armies and a deep-seated fear of losing their grip on power, they moved to quell these uprisings with a determined backlash. The dreams that had once soared on the wings of hope came crashing down under the weight of suppression. Cities that had echoed with the cries of liberty now whispered tales of disillusionment. Many of the revolution's most ardent champions faced grim fates, imprisonment, exile, or even death, martyrs to a cause that slipped like sand through the fingers of history. The fabric of European society, so boldly torn asunder by the promise of change, now bore the scars of unfulfilled aspirations. The year 1848 left behind a legacy of what could have been. The revolutionary spirit of 1848 transcended the borders of Europe, its echoes reaching far-off lands. In the Americas, the fervor of European uprisings inspired movements that sought to address societal and political inequality shaping the course of nations. In Latin America, the ideas of liberty and self-governance found resonance, fueling struggles for independence and reform. The narrative of 1848, with its emphasis on democratic ideals, bolstered local movements, intertwining with the region's own history of colonial resistance. Across the Pacific and Japan, the winds of change spurred by the revolutions contributed to the seismic shifts in the Meiji Restoration. The pursuit of modernization and the reimagining of societal structures were in part kindled by the global spread of revolutionary ideals. The path to progress, however, was paved with sacrifice. The barricades of 1848, symbols of hope and defiance, also became sites of profound loss. Thousands laid down their lives, their dreams of a brighter future often remaining just that, dreams. The human cost of revolution extended beyond the battlefields. Families were torn apart, livelihoods destroyed, and the fabrics of communities forever altered. The pursuit of change left deep scars on the nations caught in the throes of its upheaval. The revolutions, a mosaic of hope, despair, and unyielding aspiration, fundamentally reshaped the landscape of Europe and beyond. They laid the groundwork for the democratic principles and the national identities that define our world today. As we reflect on this tumultuous year, its lessons remain ever relevant. The struggles for freedom, justice, and equality continue in various forms across the globe, reminding us that the quest for a better world is an ongoing journey, not a destination.